Hey YouTubers, what's up? So there's a brand new Age of Ultron trailer dropping tonight, so I wanted to do a video for my top 5 Ultron stories in the comics. They're making some key changes to the Vision and Ultron in the movie, but I'll talk more about that during my trailer video. This is all about the comics, so just to start off my list, let's say number 5, the first appearance of Ultron in the comics. In case you haven't read any of the old Avengers comics, the character was created by Roy Thomas back in 1968. The core concept and the design of the character were actually inspired by the living robot character called Makino from this Saturday morning serial in the 1950s called Captain Video. I love the idea that Saturday morning cartoons inspired the creation of Ultron. George Lucas, in another example, borrowed a lot from the Flash Gordon serials in the 1950s whenever he wrote Star Wars, so it just melts your pop culture brain. So, Ultron's first appearance was in Avengers number 54. That was just a cameo though. It was just like a WTF reveal. It was part of this weird Masters of Evil story where Ultron secretly hypnotizes Edwin Jarvis, the Jarvis that we're actually seeing on Agent Carter right now, this guy. He hypnotizes Jarvis into hiring the Masters of Evil to take down the Avengers. Already this is super complicated, and you can see how there's no way they would do this in the movie. But it gets really awesome when you think about the fact that Paul Bettany is becoming the Vision and the way that plays out with the way Edwin Jarvis was used in this original story. Even cooler, that original Ultron story featured Black Panther and did this big flashback scene where Ulysses Klaue talks about how he tried to steal all of Wakanda's vibranium. I know there are a lot of people that just think that Andy Serkis is playing that character in the movie, and they'll use it to lay groundwork for Black Panther in Civil War. So even though the movie is taking from a different Avengers story and modifying that as well quite a bit, you can see how there's like a lot of DNA from the original Ultron story. So just look for lots of Easter eggs from this very first Ultron story whenever you do see the movie. It wasn't until a couple issues later in Avengers 58 that they told the story of how Hank Pym created Ultron using his own brainwaves as a template. Ultron develops the Oedipal complex, thinks of Pym as his father, falls in love with Janet Van Dyne the Wasp, and the rest is history. It was a little confusing the first time he showed up, because he was Ultron version 5, and everyone was like, WTF happened to the other 4 versions. Again, some tweaks happening to that in the movie, but I'll explain in my trailer video tonight. Ultron is like this evolving hypermind with the emotional fortitude of an emo teenager, which of course by default makes him everyone's worst nightmare. Nothing worse than an emo teenager. On to number 4, the first appearance of the Silver Age Vision. So the original version of the Vision, the Golden Age version, is an alien from an alternate dimension. During the 1960s, Stan Lee decided he wanted an android character to join the Avengers. He and the other writers repurposed the Vision character and turned him into the android Vision. So most of the time, whenever people talk about the Vision in the context of the Marvel Universe, they're talking about the Silver Age Vision, the second version. He appeared for the first time in 1968 in Avengers number 57. The core of the story is all about Vision being more of a synthetic human than an android. It's part of the character's journey that he endeavors to be more human. It's like Data on Star Trek Next Gen. They're Pinocchio characters, which makes you think even more about the strings line from that first trailer and Ultron being this dark version of Pinocchio. No more strings on me. So the Avengers learned that Ultron 5 creates Vision to infiltrate the team and destroy them, but he made Vision so perfectly that he begins to feel emotions, develops a conscience, and turns against Ultron. If any of you are Breaking Bad fans or Watchmen fans, at the end of the story after Vision and the Avengers defeat Ultron, Stan Lee wrote in the Ozymandias poem as an epilogue. It's just this poem about a traveler who goes to Egypt and sees this inscription written by an ancient king. The inscription basically says, look at how awesome I am, look at this giant empire I built. But the traveler can only see just miles and miles of sand in every direction. It's just that the empire that the king claimed to have built had crumbled to dust, and it was all meaningless at this point. So in the context of the Avengers story, Ultron is the ancient king. If you think about it in the context of the movies, Tony Stark kind of starts out being the Ozymandias character, and Ultron, played by James Spader, is trying to crush everything he built. I guess until the Paul Bettany Vision comes along and crushes Ultron's empire of replicants. So I guess at the end of the day, the movie version of Ultron is still Ozymandias. I feel like everyone's going to rush to Netflix tonight to look for that Breaking Bad Ozymandias episode. It's actually really good. So like way later in the comics, in Avengers 93, there's this journey to the center of the earth type story where Ant-Man shrinks down, goes inside Vision's body to examine him, and then it kind of lays the teaser for them finding out that Vision was created from the original Human Torch. But that story didn't really play out till Avengers 134. I'll be really interested to see the way the movie plays with that. Like you have the Vision being created from the bones of another character. On to number 3, we stand at Armageddon. This was Avengers number 66 through 68. It was the introduction of adamantium in the Marvel Universe. The Vision, under control of Ultron, tries to steal adamantium from the Avengers so that he can upgrade his body and become indestructible. There's this scientist named Myron McLean. He accidentally invents it while trying to create a new indestructible alloy for the US military. Wakanda, trying to be helpful, gives him like a small portion of vibranium, and as a result of a lot of tinkering, adamantium is born. But the writers of the comic made it so that the scientists didn't fully understand what was going on, so it was billed as an accident. I think that was just to keep the Avengers from getting overpowered. I mean, if you can make an unlimited supply of adamantium, why not just use it to make everything that needs metal? Like adamantium cars, adamantium refrigerator, adamantium spoons. Obviously, because of the rights issues, the Marvel movies have stuck with vibranium as its only super strong metal. So I'm interested to see how Ultron seeks out more vibranium to build his final body from. On to number 2, Ultron Unlimited. So this is from the 1998 Avengers run, number 19 to 22 by Kurt Busiek. It was really dark. Ultron takes over the Western European country of Slovenia, turns everyone into robot clones, essentially killing everyone, and it becomes this robot Hitler story of how he takes over the country. So this took Ultron to this really crazy place. Instead of just threatening genocide, he actually goes through with it, and Hank Pym, his creator, has to live knowing that his creation killed an entire country worth of people. So essentially, Hank Pym has all this blood on his hands. So look at this panel right here. Doesn't this kind of look familiar? This is the promo art for the movie, and the country that the Avengers are going to in the movie is called Sokovia. Sounds a lot like Slovenia in the comic book story. So you can see where they sync up. And my number 1 Ultron story, Annihilation Conquest. This dovetails with the Ultron Initiative storyline, so I'm just going to mention them both, just because one leads right into the other. In the wake of Civil War, Iron Man, kind of as a character, came off as a bad guy. So to make him more sympathetic, Bendis had Ultron infect Tony Stark's Extremis armor. Because Extremis is bonded with his DNA, Ultron essentially takes control of Tony Stark and goes on to create a new body that ends up looking just like Janet Van Dyne, albeit with metal skin, and really creepy. Eventually, Ares defeats Ultron, shoots his disembodied consciousness into deep space. Then, during the Annihilation Conquest storyline, when that picks up, Ultron finds the Phalanx, becomes their new god, and then uses them to try and conquer the galaxy. So that conflict is really important, not only because it was a big comic book storyline, but it's the call to action that creates the Guardians of the Galaxy team, the current team that you see in the movies right now. So Ultron, just in the comics, is responsible for the creation of Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, the movie twisted that a little bit, but it's totally possible that at the end of Avengers 2, they could shoot Ultron into deep space and he shows up as the main villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think we'd have to ask James Gunn about that. I think he's got a short list of candidates for main villains in the movie. Really, I'm not expecting it to happen, but it is possible if he wants to go with something straight out of the comics. So here's my big question for you guys. What is your favorite Ultron story from the comics, and which ones do you think they can realistically do in a future movie? Right now, to me, it's feeling like Ultron's going to be a Red Skull type villain, someone who's, really big, but who only shows up like once every 6 or 7 years. Like, I'm not expecting to see him in Avengers 3. I think what they might do in that movie is have Thanos leading an army of Kree or something similar, some other galactic race that's not controlled by Fox or Sony. But in related news, important stuff tonight, new Avengers trailer, be sure to subscribe to get it. I'll post the video right after it drops online. Fingers crossed we get a good look at the Vision, but that's kind of a long shot. Right now, you can actually click here to get that trailer video. I'll have the annotation as soon as I post it tonight. And you can click here to catch up on Agent Carter, new episode of that tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching. Everybody, high five. I'll see you tonight.